Don't say COVID.
And just like that, internet, we are live. We've got some heavy hitters in the chat tonight, and I'm happy to chat with you guys about the most recent Carry Optics Nationals, as well as it's ongoing at the time we record this, USPSA President race. So I'll just go around the horn and introduce everybody. We've got Ben from Team Beretta. Ben, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks, David.
Then we've got the proprietor making all of the 3D printed stuff and machine stuff you could want for your 750 or optic covers and everything in between. It's the one, the only maker of crap tier memes.
Thanks.
It's the Rage Panda.
I'm insulted. I'm insulted. So thanks for having me on.
And then we have a masochist who wants to be president of USPSA. It's Luigi Li.
Hey guys.
I appreciate you guys hopping on tonight. Don't have a real tight kind of thing to talk about, but in recent memory, I would say that this was one of the biggest nationals that I can remember hearing about. Not only was it one of the largest by numbers, I mean, it was sold out and there was still a wait list. I mean, they crashed the server with as many people tried to jump in to that match as possible. And 2 out of the 4 of us kind of shot it. So I just kind of want to throw it over to you guys, and you guys can figure out who wants to talk first. But I mean, what was your experience? I know you guys have shot other nationals. How did this Carry Optics Nationals kind of stack up against the other nationals in your recent memory?
Eric, you want to go first? You want me to go? What do you think?
You want? I'll go first. I probably got the least to say. This was my first Carry Optics Nationals for me. I used to be really big into Carry Optics, and then I switched to Open before I could ever shoot a Nationals. And so I'd always regretted not shooting Carry Optics Nationals. Boy, did I pick duty to pop my cherry with. 100 people showed up with a wait list. And so that was pretty crazy. The biggest indicator, I guess, was all the way from 17th place to 68th was just a 10% gap. Like, that's crazy.
And that's one thing that I've noticed about this. Like, I jumped in Carry Optics, not the first year it was division, but not long after, when they started 140s was when I hopped in. And like the elite shooters didn't really get on board with Carry Optics in about the first 4 years of the division. Like, last year was really the first year where all the elites decided to kind of show up. So it really has been a division that kind of the people showed up first, and then the sport kind of like coalesced around the division. And this year's, I mean, if you finish 85th percent at a nationals, that's usually like a really good finish, like top 40, if not like top 30 or something like that. If you were 85th, or if you finished at 85%, I think it takes you all the way down to 40th, basically.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of heat. I mean, a very, very deep pool of talent who showed up for this one. Ben, what was your experience like at this one for you, bud?
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I didn't finish anywhere near as high as I would have wanted to. I was expecting to finish above that 85% mark. And I finished at 80%. But dang, I beat some guys that I mean, there was some great shooters below in the hundreds, like down there. And obviously there were some great shooters at the top too. And the top, there were so many good shooters. They could have legit filled up 4 super squads of 12, 13 shooters. There were so many good shooters at this match. And, the weather,
just to interject there real quickly, I was looking through the stats. Like, John Browning is normally a limited shooter, but he's a really, really good shooter. And John Browning finished at 81%. He was 61st in the match. Like an AMU guy, they normally can finish, 90% and above, even if it's not their home division. So it just goes to show just how stacked the field is. It was unlike anything I've seen.
Yeah, it was stupid. The weather, whatever happens with the Nationals gods, but the main super squads the two main super squads got the best weather of the weekend, right? I shot AM, PM, AM, and that first morning was, I mean, we were running through 3-4 inch deep water. We were splashing through puddles. Honestly, it messes with your spots. It messes with your, your positions. And then obviously shooting bag targets sucks. But the super squads, they got great weather for most of the match, maybe a stage or two with bags on it. It was, the weather was rough, but you get through it. The thing that I was kind of frustrated with was it honestly felt like 3 local matches. Like I just had 3 local matches back to back to back, right? There wasn't anything super special. The stages were challenging because they were accuracy oriented, but there was nowhere to, well, that's not true because some people clearly did, but it didn't feel super special, and maybe that was the range. Maybe they weren't prepared for the people. I don't know what it was.
So let me add to this, and I really don't want to be perceived as a complainer because
no, I totally agree.
Yeah. So we have our sport is really full of a lot of complainers. I really feel like we shoot ourselves in the foot on a lot of things, but you're correct. I really came into that nationals. So first of all, to nationals to me is who is there. It doesn't matter. Exactly. It doesn't matter if it's janky stages and that. 100% nationals is who is there. Now, with that said, I really didn't feel like I came into this big ordeal, just like you had said. They did a great job. I've been to worse matches, but it just didn't really feel like this big, hoopla of nationals, especially with being our most heavily populated division at that.
Yeah. And, you're right. I love watching.
Let me ask another question following up on that, Eric. So we were both at Race Gun last year. Which match felt more special, more like a nationals between the Carry Optics this year and Race Gun last year? I'm afraid Eric froze. Nope, there he is. Can you hear me, Eric?
Yeah, I apologize. I've got some crappy Wi-Fi going on right now, but go ahead.
I was going to say, which match felt more special, more like a nationals than Race Gun last year or the Carry Optics you just shot?
Man, I tell you what, when we had the awards at Talladega, that is what I expect from nationals. That's a very bougie type event, I guess you could say. Now, when we had last year's Open Nationals, when we had the awards banquet and stuff like
next
that,
to all the prisons,
it really felt
in
like
the bail bond places.
It felt like it was a place that someone had their quinceanera or something. You know what I mean? And so, so that kind of adds to it. Now, they did have a decent banquet spot this year. However, just the facility where you checked in and stuff like that, it just doesn't feel like it's that big of an event, outside of who is there and what we're there to do. And I mean, but I know we've talked about financial.
Here's the thing, Eric. I applaud the organization for trying to get away from only shooting at Talladega, right? We know there's issues with Talladega. Mm-hmm. You've got a 9 a.m. start. You've got space considerations, especially with a match this huge. And I'm all about adding venues to the rotation. And Cardinal, especially in a couple of years, they really should be able to do a great job.
Yes.
I just think other than the amazing depth of competition that was there, like I'm looking forward to the next couple of years. Let's put it that way.
So I'm curious then, Luigi, since you're putting your hat in for president, where do you think nationals should be held? Do you think you would do it at this range? I'm sure you've been to this range because you've been everywhere, it seems.
I actually haven't. I've never shot at Cardinal, and the only place in Ohio that I've shot is Briar Rabbit, I think. It's about an hour and a half or 2 hours southeast of there. But realistically, there's a lot of other issues with nationals that you have to take into consideration than just location. So you have to find venues that are big enough. You have to see what kind of nationals you're going to host. And all in all, you have to look at the finances as well. So, I mean, this is the first Optics Nationals that I've missed since the division was a real division. I did not shoot when it was provisional in 2016, I think. But I've shot every Optics National since 2017, which is crazy. And unfortunately, I just, scheduling wise, I couldn't make it this year.
It was definitely weird not having you there, Luigi. Seriously.
Yeah.
Like you're kind of like an iconic person. You know what I mean?
I know, right?
If you go to a major,
you guys just hit the nail on the head as
Okay.
to why it didn't feel like
if you go to a
nationals.
major and he's not at Brian's tent with a cigar, like, is it a major?
Okay, so I take that word. I don't want to say iconic. I say polarizing. You're a polarizing figure.
Well, I mean, I was one of the first adopters of Optics. I mean, I still have a Optics setup that from when it was 10 rounds.
Yeah. You've got that blinged out chrome Walther.
I have that one. I also have one that is gold that I can't put up on the screen. So yeah. No, it's it was really weird not shooting a Optics Nationals. Like realistically, I felt so uncomfortable just watching videos and being like, I really should be there, and I'm not.
Yeah, I want to add something to what Ben had said as far as about that facility getting bigger and having more. That's one of the things that I'm kind of tiptoeing around is we complain constantly that we need more national locations. And then once we get more national locations, what's the next thing we do? Oh, this place sucks. And
this
blah,
place
blah, blah.
sucks. Yeah.
Yeah. So I will say, like what Ben said, they are doing a lot more improvements. And I do have an optimistic feeling that place is going to progress into a national quality venue. But,
for sure, they know how to do it with shotgun. Like,
oh my God.
Sure.
I got muzzled at least 5 times driving through that parking lot. It was crazy.
That's every shotgun range everywhere.
No,
those guys just do not care about muzzle discipline.
Some of those shotguns were not broken in half. Like some of them were like getting sight pictures in the parking lot, and I'm just like, oh Jesus. So we needless to say, after that we came in the back way each time, which you're actually coming towards them like they're shooting downrange. But I mean, it's a shotgun. But
right.
I mean, you're just in a rental car. It's what's a little bit of lead hail.
Yeah. Shot fallout, right? Who cares?
Yeah, don't worry about getting Dick Cheney'd.
So, but the question I was asking Luigi is like, what venues do you think are currently there that are suitable for hosting nationals? Because I mean, we know Talladega, they don't really have good infrastructure because if you have a match at Talladega, there's basically no place to stay. There's not very many places to eat around it, and Frostproof's even worse than Talladega.
Okay.
There's absolutely nowhere to stay.
I'll say this: Columbus is about 30 minutes away, and the amenities are on point. Plenty of nice Airbnbs, plenty of places to eat. Yeah, definitely. Exactly. Yeah,
better or worse than USSA?
USSA.
Tulsa Universal.
Tulsa.
Yeah, Tulsa.
I've never been there, so I can't.
I've been to Tulsa.
I can't speak that.
I think it was better. Like between Columbus and frankly, you could fly into Cincinnati as well. It's a little bit further. Like, dude, there was a ton.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, I'm so focused on the match that I'm not really looking for anything other than a good place to stay and food. Like there's the Air Force Museum you can go to and other auxiliary things. But, for me, those are the top 2 and flights, good airport to fly into.
So, as somebody who bashed his head open on the tailgate of a rented minivan last year, medical care is a good thing to have in the area too. And there's almost none around Talladega because like I went to bed with just like a pressure bandage on and I woke up the next day like, oh man, I think I'm going to have to go get this thing stitched up. And then Brian from Hunters let me borrow some super glue and Bill Baker glued my head back together. So, ready to go at that point. But it was going to be a problem because when I was looking, like all of the close by emergency rooms were closed. They closed at like 5 p.m. And so when we got off the range at like, what's that?
An emergency room or like urgent
like
care?
Urgent care or someplace like that where you can go get patched up. There wasn't anywhere to go that wasn't over an hour away. And I was like, you know what? It's just bleeding. I'll be all right. So the next day I was going to go after I shot and try and get stitched up if I couldn't get taken care of. And thankfully they were able to glue me up. But,
let me say a couple things about nationals, David, if you don't mind. And then
go right ahead.
Take it where you want to. there were some real frustrating things for me, and they didn't have anything to do with the venue. Number one is Beretta was late to the party with sponsorship, and so we didn't have. Obviously, JJ was invited to the Super Squad because he's JJ, but Beretta sponsored, but they did it very late, and so we didn't have guaranteed slots. So I had to register like everybody else, and I got in. But by the time open registration opened, there were 65 slots out of 510. 65 open slots. And if you looked at who was registered and who was in there, man, I don't know how we need to fix this, but there needs to be a defined way where slots are given. It's super secret depending on where you live, which area you're in, who's you're giving a handy to in the background. Like, there is no defined way to get into nationals.
Ben, I'm gonna cut you off right there. Who is your section coordinator? What's his name? Or what's their name? Sorry.
That is exactly part of the problem. No, that's on me.
We don't know. It's
do you know? I mean, both of you live in the same area.
Yeah, we're in the same section. We're TX.
What is the name of your section coordinator?
I looked it up last week. I can't remember his name.
That's your issue.
But we have 3 slots.
Hold on. Hold on.
3 slots. In our
Hold
section.
on. Like, I want to hurt some feelings on this topic.
Absolutely.
Can I say something? Okay, so first of all, like, oh man, I got to be politically correct here.
No, you don't. You're not running president.
So first
bonus
of all,
points if you can throw rocks at Luigi through the screen and internet.
No, dude, he's big. He's a big guy. I'll outrun his reach. He'll lure me in the back of Brian's van, and that'll be it. No, but seriously, okay. So first of all, I'm an advocate for standalone Nats, obviously for the main divisions. Okay, look at what Carry Optics is done. I believe maybe Open PCC can be together, but anyways. So it really bothers me, like the talking point that Ben had brought up, that when you finally get open enrollment, there's hardly any slots left. We even have this problem with the Open Nats in Talladega. I know a ton of people that are hardcore, dedicated shooters. Has nothing to do with their skill level. I'm not trying to be an elitist, okay? These are just people that travel to matches, travel to area matches, love traveling, and they can't get into Nats. You know what I mean? And like, that shouldn't be a thing. And whatnot. So I don't know. I don't think like a point system or whatnot necessarily can be implemented and work for us. But I really feel like there's certain people that don't belong at Nats over certain people that do.
I mean, IDPA has a point system.
Yeah, they've got a point system.
I mean,
and I hate agreeing with IDPA, but that is one of the things that I agree.
What's really funny is we used to throw rocks at IDPA for being so backwards, but recently IDPA has like leapfrogged past USPSA with good ideas and are doing stuff more and more correctly.
Okay, they have a better carry optics division. They have a better way of recognizing major match winners, and they kind of have a better way for nationals, in my opinion. But
we all have opinions, buddy.
No, I mean, no, seriously.
Oh, I agree. Like they recognize equipment that is current, comps, magwells. Like they listen to their membership about appendix. They have a clearly defined, you don't have to agree with it, but they have a clearly defined method to get into nationals. You know,
except you realize the thing with IDPA is they have a clear method of getting into nationals if you want to shoot during the weekday. If you want to shoot, if you want to shoot on the weekend, you have to have one of those shirts on. And they will tell you straight up. You have the Friday and Saturday squads are 90% reserved for sponsors. Period. And to get a sponsorship slot, it's not just product like USPSA does. It's all cash.
I'll argue with you a little bit because I was part of that group this year. Of the, I don't know how many it is, 20, 30 squads for Friday, Saturday, probably 4 of them were sponsored and filled before registration opened. It's definitely not 90%.
The majority.
Are you talking about for CO Nats?
No,
we're talking
about
IDPA nationals and IDPA.
Gotcha.
So everybody's
my
there.
point, Luigi, is nobody knew. I didn't know who my section coordinator was. That's my fault. But then when I went and looked and I found out that our Texas section got 3 slots, And I'd emailed Bathon and I'd emailed Mel about how do I get a slot, and they didn't know. Now, whether they were giving me a political answer or not, who knows? But having 65 slots out of 500 plus available for open registration is not the right way to do it, I don't think.
Okay.
I'm on the wait list right now for open nationals too.
You're still on the wait list for CO nationals.
And see, David, I think that's BS. Okay. You shoot area matches, you travel, okay? I don't even know what classification you are. So this is not an elitist
same as you,
like,
big boy
thing. You know what I mean? So no, seriously, like this has nothing to do with your skill level, but someone like you belongs in Nats. And I say that because I know certain people that got slots that don't belong in Nats over someone like you. And that's an unfortunate event because we're limited by size. We're limited by how many people can be there.
What's funny is I got a slot last year. Because I don't know whether it was area match performance last or 2 years ago or what, but I was like 4th A at nationals, so I got invited to last year's nationals. I think that's why I got a code. This year, I improved my overall finish by like 20 or 30 spots. I was like 42nd, I want to say, last year, and that wasn't good. 14th master and 42nd overall wasn't good enough to get invited back. And
ultimately, I feel like it comes down, and Luigi would probably know better about this, but ultimately it comes down to just finding more ranges that can accommodate more squads. And I think that was a big part of the pro for Columbus. Now, people were complaining about Zone 1 stages, right? Because they were a lot, they had the wooden walls off to the
indoor
sides. But
they were calling it indoor nationals.
It wasn't that bad. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. There was
the stages were pretty decent. They were.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
I think the biggest thing was that one stage that started doing the rounds on social media just because USPSA themselves posted it, and
the one that Timmy built correctly.
Yeah, that one. The one
is that the one Shannon Smith posted?
USPSA posted Shannon's run, and it was designed to be different, but what ended up being on the ground was literally just 4 shooting boxes. Like, there was no movement in between, like in each box. So I think that's the biggest reason and why they were complaining so much about that zone. Could it have been designed a little better and put on the ground a little better? Yeah. But you have to take into consideration how many people are there actually putting these things on the ground. Yeah. I mean, Shannon is there.
So
go ahead,
real quick. If anybody's curious, go to Google Maps and take a look at the facility. That place has property to expand and become a bigger deal. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm optimistic that they can, eventually maybe fade out. I don't know what the plans are, but fade out of Zone 1 with a whole new set of bays. They've got property there. I mean, that's a very big shotgun place.
Yeah, they've got a ton of property. So, Luigi, I'll use this to kind of segue into your presidential bid. Like, how do you see nationals? Is this a best of the best? Is it? Tell me what's right and wrong about having 65 open slots. Like, how do you foresee nationals going for a match like this?
You have an issue with 65 open slots. I don't see an issue with 65 open registration slots. Honestly, you have to take into consideration what your sponsor slots. I mean, yes, if you're late to the game and you don't have verified slots or you don't know what's going to happen, that's one thing. You have your earning slots through nationals and area performances. Your area matches are just going to be your own area match, so you can't go to area 1, 2 and earn a slot from there because you're in 4. Just like Eric can't come to Texas and say, "Hey, I'm going to go win, first B class and get a slot from there." Then you have the super secret slots that just go to your section coordinator. I mean, it's public; it's just not easy to get to. If you've been in the game for
every section's different too. That's
your section should have bylaws that dictate what you have. If you don't even know who your section coordinator is, then you might not have ever seen your section bylaws. But the 2 main responsibilities of your section coordinator is 1, put on your section match, which doesn't even have to happen, and 2, they're responsible for the disbursement of your slots.
Did we even have a section match, Ben?
I don't know. And I'm totally guilty of what Luigi's saying. Like I moved here 2 years ago, did not shoot section or area match in 22. Obviously, I shot it this year, but that doesn't matter. I'm absolutely guilty of that.
I was like fourth at our area match last year in Open, and I didn't get a slot this year for nationals.
I think you have to win your classification.
Yeah, I think it's first.
I think I did.
First
I think
and second.
I think it's first and second, but it's going to be for the following year. So
yeah,
if you
so
win 20,
I would think I was. Oh, I don't know. Hell, I might maybe.
If you win 22, you get a slot for 23, but it has to be your area.
Right.
So like, if you go to like, if you look at IDPA or if you look at any other region that does their IPSC stuff for their nationals, most of the time you have to earn your slot. So I'm not saying that I don't like not having open registration. I just don't see it as big of a problem as you make it out to be, only having, 65 open slots for a match that's 500 and change. That's more than 10%.
Well, and I'll give you the fact that 100 is staff, right? You got to staff the match, and you've got area performance. I think one of my complaints was there were some folks that had never shot a major, let alone a nationals, that I saw on the registration list.
That's because they might know who their section coordinator is. They might have their little cabal of what they do. They might have shot their own area match and won first place D class in production, or production optics or carry optics, whatever you want.
Well, and again, I'm arguing with myself here. My old section in California, I'm still on the mailing lists there. Nobody took the slots. Like I emailed those guys. I'm like, I'll take it, right? Nobody took the slots out of Northern California. I couldn't believe that.
Those slots, if they're not used by the time of the expiration date, they just go back to the pool, or you might think the nefarious thing where they go back to whoever's in charge of them and they get dispersed that way.
So side question: what's an ideal attendance for a nationals? Like, what do you see as an ideal number? Is it just more the merrier, or what?
So SAS had their nationals at the beginning of the year or a few months ago, and they had 800 and some odd shooters. You get sporting clays that don't even have their nationals, and they have thousands of people show up. I mean, Cardinals a prime example.
Now, the difference with sporting clays is sporting clays can be shot out in a couple hours. Like what would be a half day relay for us would be somebody's whole shooting match. I mean,
I see section and state matches that you shoot 10 stages, 10 32 round field courses in a span of 4 hours.
Yeah, so it's fantastic. The Georgia State and North Carolina section matches are worth going to when they have them for that reason.
There's, like I said earlier, there's a lot more issues with just nationals than just the venue. There's a lot of things that go into it. There's a lot of things that you have to balance.
Yeah. Now, what if we were to, like, let's say Open Nationals has a wait list that people can't get in? What if we didn't have PCC with us? I mean, obviously it's too late for something like that. Would we be making a bigger problem because now we can't fill it, or would that help out?
You'd be making a bigger problem for staffing.
A bigger problem for staffing.
I mean, we still have 4 national events going on for the rest of the year.
How many nationals should we have just in the USPSA side of the house? Like, how many divisions should get a nationals is kind of the question that I would ask. So I'll lead off with my answer to that. I think only the top 3 divisions should get a nationals. That's my opinion.
What are the top 3 right now? Carry optics, open.
Carry optics, open, and I think limited.
Yeah, limited's third, but it'll.
How is that still alive? How is that division still going?
They've got one more year. Something's going to replace it year following. I don't know what, but I mean, it's a catch-all division, so that's why their activity numbers are as high as they are. If you're shooting iron sights and show up to a match, then stuff the mags full. You're shooting limited.
Well, I mean, you have to listen to what the membership says. I mean, is it more surveys? Is it email feelers? Is it having somebody actually traveling to different area matches, different section matches, and talking to the actual like lay member, or do we just say I'm going to listen to the top 30 GMs and that's all I'm going to focus on? And unfortunately, that's one of the things that the president falls on the president. It's up to them.
Let's say if we have these smaller matches, and I don't remember who first introduced this idea to me, but I think it's a great one, is, okay, if you're not one of those top 3 divisions, then make area 2 is production nationals. Area 7 is single stack.
Todd Jarrett floated that idea a few times of making every area match a different national event. Again, there's a lot of issues with that type of planning, but it's great that we have people that are in positions of influence that are thinking outside the box. Now, is it something that is it viable? I don't know, but can we take those ideas and incorporate them into something that works and works for the membership?
So what do you consider the most important part of the membership? Like, we've got this core, and I don't know what the percentage is, but call it 10% that is consistently involved year over year over year for 5, 6, 8, 10 years, whatever it is. And you have a big shuffle in the middle of it. Talk to Brian about that. He's got new customers every couple of years. Where is the important part of the membership? Is it that core? Is it the 70% of new members every 3 years? Like who is, and don't, yeah, everybody's important, but what is the support? What is the sport supposed to be geared toward?
That's for the membership to decide. I mean, I can say what my personal ideas are, because I've been in this for over a decade, and like actually on the competitive side of things, like actually competitive, for I'd say a good number of years. Do I feel like just because I put more time and more effort and more ammo down range, does that make me better than the guy that just goes to shoot for 4 hours every other weekend or once a month with his buddies on the range and never travel outside his section?
Yes.
Hey, you agree? You agree? Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, that's the part where I feel like I'm hurting people's feelings, but I'm very adamant about that. And it's not a skill level; it's a participation level.
Well, dude, I've talked about some individuals like on a few different podcasts. There's guys at my local club in Florida. One guy in particular has been in the sport. He has a member number that's been valid for over 20 years. 20 years. He's probably like a high A class limited shooter. He has never shot outside of my club, ever. Just think about that.
Okay, so I'll give you.
Are you guys reading the comments, by the way?
Yeah.
Is that you, Luigi?
Those are mine. Those are mine.
Oh, okay. I was like, am I hearing something? I'm like, okay. Now that I know it's a dog, I'm okay. All right.
Yeah.
So I'll ask you a question.
To podcast listeners, I want to go ahead and apologize that we have dog noise. Steve Anderson is not on this podcast, but there is dog noise.
I was like, this dog's putting in the extra effort. It's pissed about something.
Yeah.
It's dinner time at Luigi's house.
Does federal care about that competitor that, I put 40 or 50,000 rounds down range a year? Does federal care about the guy that does 1,000 a year? I mean, there's a business.
Well, let me.
Hey.
Right?
I think it should be about participation, because you know what? When you're shooting locals and area matches and level 2s and blah, 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 you are participating in the sport more, is how I see it. And I feel like you should have a way to quantify your, more deserving of being at nationals.
So let me like detour out of that comment, Eric. Your section, Texas, right? North Texas or Central Texas? I don't know how Texas is.
Me? I'm in Idaho.
I meant David and Ben. They got 3 slots for Carry Optics Nationals. The way they got those 3 slots is through their participation, their activity fees. So
Is it?
that, yes.
The
So-
people that I saw get the slots, I don't even know who got the slots.
Well, no. The section
It's
gets
division.
awarded.
The section got, okay.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
section
And it's-
gets awarded the slots based off of the activities for the division. So I know that at M160, you have a bunch of open shooters. You're going to have more than 3 slots for open nationals. But they all get handed to the section coordinator. Now, if you don't know who the section coordinator is or how they get dispersed, I mean, I know a few years ago, Bathon just had access to all the slots, and he gave them out to his buddies.
So I was one of the ones who got one of them, and it was through the people who were running the match. So I'll say like 2 years ago is me and Bathan were the match directors. Guess who got the slots to nationals? Me and Bathan.
Yeah. My section in Florida, it's our section coordinator just sends out an email blast to all of the match directors and all the club contacts. And then if any of the clubs have their own little online forums, they say, hey, if anybody's interested, email me. What matches have you shot? How much have you traveled? Then he puts it into a spreadsheet and he sees who's interested and what they've done and just go down from there. So yeah, Eric, it's based off of
I think we almost
travel.
need to, I mean, just sidebarring it seems, Ben, that our section actually needs to recognize the section championship and use that to be the basis to pass out slots. Like highest finish at the section championship gets the slots to the nationals or the first right of refusal.
And I don't, I mean, our little tiny section, David, doesn't matter to the rest of the country.
It's a pretty big section, though. I think there's like 14 clubs in it. East
No.
Texas, we're in East Texas, technically East Texas section.
Let's talk about Jeff's question. Jeff says, why not one Nats? I think what we've been discussing right now is why one, in my opinion, why one Nats is no bueno, because now you even filter down less people that can shoot a nationals.
Really though?
What's that?
Really though? Do you filter down less people that can shoot a nationals?
If you are doing 5 or whatever, divisions in a single Nats, I would think so.
Why? Why would you water it down?
I think he's more saying that you can't get the staff and the logistics. So like we can't get enough people into one division nationals that is carry optics.
Yes, I'm talking about attendance.
Let's assume that we stretch it out for a full week and we can staff the whole thing.
I mean, look at what we did in
relay A and relay B, and then
look at what we did in 2018 for
exactly the 9 days of nationals, basically. Yeah,
that was 9 days though, right?
We had 1,500 people there, if I remember correctly.
I think it was like 11 or 1,200 unique shooters, and some people shot multiples.
Yeah, so I mean,
I don't consider that a singular nationals like that. That's a great rebuttal. I consider like a single nationals like the 3-day weekend, and you have to pick a division. So now,
why does it have to be a 3-day weekend?
No. That's what I'm saying is that's my perception of it. Like, so no one really says when they talk about a singular Nats, we're going to spread it out 9 days. I was
just in Italy last 2 months ago for one of their nationals. It's their actual. They have two nationals for 2 different federations. I shot one of them. It's their Series B, I guess, but it's still a national organization. There were people that shot a single match, 14 stages on Monday, that just hung out in the city, and they attended awards on Sunday. So,
do you think that's what people are meaning though when they say a singular Nats? That's new to me.
A singular Nats is they want everyone there, but they want to see. I don't need a staff for more national events for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I think that's the real issue, Luigi, is whether it's 9 days of nationals or whether it's 5 nationals. Like, you can't lean on your volunteers that much.
How many squads were in each relay?
Some of them are retired.
16. I think it was 16.
16 per relay, and how many people per squad?
I don't know. I wasn't there.
Was it 12-man squads, 13-man squads? How many were in the squads, Eric? Ben?
Oh, yeah.
Are you talking
over 13?
Cardinal?
Yeah.
13?
I think we had, that sounds 11 or 12, I think is what we had in ours.
I think it was 12.
So 12. Yeah. We'll use 12-man squads. So 32 squads a day. at 12 men, you're shooting out 384 competitors times 3 days, basically. So you had 384 in the main match, and then the balance of competitors, 100, 140-ish in the pre-match is what we did. So, like, how
That
many
dog
stages?
is so bad.
Yeah, I'm about to go yell at him.
hit mute real quick, Luigi. I'll finish kind of the point I'm kind of building up to just on. So if let's assume that 18 stages is the right number of stages, and so everybody's going to shoot 9 stages per day, and there are 2 days. So you could have 3. Well, yeah,
I don't know how you squeeze. Like, we were bumping up. We started at 8 a.m. and we were bumping up against 12, 12:15.
You're gonna have fewer people in the squad. You're gonna have like 10-man squads max.
Now, Ben, I'll say this: the days that we had to bag targets and deal with the rain, they definitely were slow. Yeah, those, because we had to bag our first day too, and that day ran longer than the other days.
Tell me in nationals that we haven't had some crazy weather in the last 10 years.
So, okay, well, I mean, let's just play with hypotheticals because we're gonna have to deal with weather in any situation.
Yeah.
So let's assume we got the same 16 squads times. We're only going to do that, so we're going to do 10-man squads, shooting out in 2 days. So you can shoot out 160, and if you had 3 relays that are shooting out those 2-day matches, so that's only 480 in the main match plus a pre-match of 150. So with a week of a large nationals, you can maybe shoot out 700 if we can't increase the shooter turns.
Yeah.
So like the problem is that it takes too long to process shooters.
Yep.
That's the big problem. We would have to go to a staff reset where we're cutting like a minute per shooter to make the squads work.
Yep.
IPSC has a 3-2-1 rule.
Yeah, I that's not a bad way to do it, honestly. And I think we've done better here recently at nationals with short courses. I mean, how many short courses, short and small, medium courses did you have at nationals this year?
6.
Probably like 3 or 4 classifiers, and then probably 2 or 3 short, medium courses.
We had two double bays plus the
classifier,
2-string classifier, and then 1 or 2 others that were pretty quick. Yeah.
So we're getting better at it, I guess, is the point that I'm making. Is like I absolutely agree with you, Luigi. I think there is a place for that, simply from a match flow perspective. Like to get more.
It doesn't have to be a 3-2-1, but just balancing skill and match flow, just to do it that way. And it's 16 stops. It's not 16 stages. Is what they were doing per area. And that's the number that's been thrown around through the guys that have been putting nationals on for the past few years. We need something that has 16 bays that can run stages. Single bays or double bays.
Yeah, we act like we know better than Shannon and Gorka and even Jake, and the guys we act like we know better than them. We have some ideas. It would be great if those things were put into play, but I feel like most of these permutations have been tried, right? We're limited by venue. We're limited by staff and the ability for staff to, work for an extended period of time. And thank goodness for staff. Like, we wouldn't do this without the volunteers that come and give a week of terrible weather. We bitch about 3 days. They're there for 7, right?
Yeah. No, that's great. Like, yeah, like, God bless Shannon and God bless Jake. This isn't, meant to be a shit on them type thing,
No.
Yeah.
Oh, and Hopkins came in and said it was 18 stops, 12 per squad, 2 relays at 432 in the main match.
Yeah.
Which means then there were only like 80 something in the pre-match, which is surprising. I'd expect based on the number of staff, that number would be higher.
Yeah. The only thing I have against 3-2-1 is, like, let's say you have a 32 round, so you have very few 32 round field courses. If you tank a 32 round field course, like, that's going to hurt. You know what I mean? That's going to hurt.
That's why I said we don't need it. It's not something that we have to do, but it's something that they do that does help with match flow.
It's something we're not talking about, which is interesting. is that like in limited division in IPSC, there's a stronger case for like standard minor because you can get like a 4.5-inch gun with a 140 millimeter to fit the box. Whereas, you know, we don't have anything like that. There's one of the South African dudes had a Glock 17 with an angled base pad that he could get 22 rounds in versus a 40 gun, which is getting like 17. So that starts to create an interesting dynamic of major minor.
You have different manufacturers, the secret guys that fit 19+1 in a 2011 magazine, that fit the box. But those are, I know somebody who knows somebody to get.
All of that to say is it creates more opportunity if we were to structure the divisions around something like a fit the box rule for a high cap, that there becomes a very interesting balance between power and I guess speed, since you're cutting out reloads potentially, because there will be more stages. That'll be like, if everything's 32 round field courses, then it starts to be all samey in those divisions, and everybody's got one reload per stage basically.
So,
but if you can have
we're
lower
talking
round
about
count stages, there could be no reloads potentially if you want to risk it.
Let me ask Luigi a couple of questions about his presidential bid. Divisions is part of it. Do we need 9 divisions? Like, I'm not asking you to give me definitive divisions, but do you want to see growth or do you want to see consolidation on divisions?
There's divisions that need to go away.
Okay. And then the other thing is, you know, all of this that's going on, obviously we've got a couple of areas up for, you know, 2 or 3 areas right now that are having meaningful elections plus the president. Like, what do you want to see? What's the most important thing that you want to address immediately? Let's assume that those areas get new representation. Like, what are you excited to go in and address?
So we had 2 areas get new representation this year. Next year, we'll have 2 new areas with a guaranteed new representation. And then the year after, there's 2 more areas that are up for re-election. So there is a lot of turnover, and this is something that I've talked about at length with a lot of people, you know, in private and somewhat on a public setting. Is we're at a turning point in representation with this specific now, with how many people are getting changed over, have gotten changed over, and are going to change over. This is a super definitive point in USPSA history to see the meaningful change. Now, change isn't always good though, right? You can have one person with a lot of power decide to do things his own way and tank an organization. But you can also have somebody else that means well, but does everything incorrectly because they just don't know any better, also tank an organization. Or you have I'm talking about this on a corporate side. You have a president come in, or a CEO come in, or CFO come in, and they bring along a group of guys that they know that they trust, and they can turn a business around. You see it left and right on the corporate setting. This is a very important time that change can happen. Now, how and what we do is going to be the key.
Yeah. So what is it like? You know, I think the backroom stuff is starting to get on everybody's nerves. You know, and we all have our pet peeves about what's going on. We all just want to go shoot, right? I mean, we can complain about nationals, but the reality is 500 people. That's a pretty good sized nationals. Like, you can't really fault that too much. How do we make it better? Like, we've all got opinions about that, but you know, do you think that just the turnover in these positions is going to make an appreciable positive difference, or, you know, what's the agenda?
I've said this before, and I'll say it again. USPSA is a business. It's an organization. It's a 501c3. You can call it whatever you want, but it's a business. Number 1 on the agenda is running it like a business. I mean, financials have to be in order, and things need to be fixed. Other than that, if USPSA as a whole disappeared tomorrow, you guys would still be shooting every weekend. It wouldn't stop you. Now, I have personal experience with you guys in your local range. You just would be shooting Cullen County. I mean, you'll run IDPA matches, you'll run PCSL matches, you'll run outlaw matches, you'll run action steel, you'll run whatever.
There's a match every weekend at that gun club.
Yeah,
I know.
So
they're filming.
Luigi, I have two questions for you. These could be yes or no. Okay. Do you going back to Ben's original question? Do you think we can ever get rid of a division that we currently have?
Yes, it's possible.
Second question: do you think there's a chance that LO and Carry Optics could ever merge?
Yes, it's possible.
Okay.
It's
my opinion on both of those is USPSA is so stubborn that I don't ever see them taking a step back and realizing we messed up in somewhere. Let's go back and fix it. I feel
so. In response to that statement that you just said, what is USPSA?
Governing org.
Okay. Who in the governing org makes those decisions?
That's a great question.
There's 9 people that make those decisions. And like we mentioned, not even 10 minutes ago, we had 2 of them turn over last year. 3 of them are turning over this year. And 2 are going to be up for re-election next year.
Let me ask an interesting question though. So nobody really wants to be an area director or whatever, because everybody who's doing it feels like it's a duty. Like I've heard everybody who's running an A6 basically say, I don't really want to do this, but I feel like I gotta, because I'm worried somebody else more slack-jawed is going to step up and do it. And that's kind of what the president race is to a lesser extent as well. Like, I know that through speaking with you, you don't really want to do this, and for good reason. Like, it's not like there's a bunch of money in it. It's a big. It's basically asking for hemorrhoids is what you're doing.
Absolutely, it'll just exacerbate the ones I already have. Whatever.
Yeah, right. So, there's plenty of adult jokes we could make about that, but. So that's kind of what's interesting about it. So the people who are in these positions that no one wants don't have the fortitude to potentially lose their position that no one wants, because they're not going to do what is potentially, should be done for the org, and most people are saying should be done. Like, consolidating limited 10, like limited 10's an easy one. Smoke it. There's less than 3,000 people, or not people, activity per year doing it. We already have a rule on the books where if you live in a restricted state, all of the divisions go down to that restriction in that state. We already have a rule for that. Why is it a division?
Yeah,
I mean,
I'd like to see L10 smoked.
I mean, it depends on who you talk to, because
and it's the same thing with Carry Optics.
Colorado. So
Carry Optics wasn't given its own identity. It was scabbed onto production, which had arbitrary rule set. And so now it's kind of like the Life of Brian, where they start like worshiping the sandal or whatever. And that's like, people are like, this is what makes Carry Optics great or whatever. It's like, no, it's just because at the time when we started the division, it was for carry guns. It was for 35 ounce or less guns. So it kind of made sense to marry up with
what a joke. What a joke we have become. What
then
Carry Optics is.
The very second we let in the limited guns that are dominating production division, it basically became limited optics anyway. And then so when people are like, hey, let's get race gear in Carry Optics, and like, oh no, we can't do that. We can't do that. This is a production division. It's like, but you're shooting limited guns in it. It's already limited optics. Just let it be limited optics.
So I have a personal issue with how Carry Optics, evolved in the very beginning, because I think it was maybe 2 months before nationals that the 140 mag rule changed. It was a very, very short window. And I think it was like,
I moved my stuff all up front. Like, I relearned everything in 10 minutes.
Oh no, Ben, this is back in the day.
It's 2018.
10 round stuff.
It was 10 round.
Oh yeah, that too.
So like 2 weeks before that rule change happened, I actually built a 40 minor gun, because 200 grain minor is stupid soft. So
This
I
is
actually
what you get
built,
for being a stupid gamer, Luigi.
I
That's
know,
on you, buddy.
it is, but I only got the idea because I had some Brazilian friends that shot 40 minor in production because they didn't have access to 9mm, and some of the Italian guys, they didn't have access to 9mm either. So they're like, "Yo, 40's the way. You're already capped at magazines. It's fine." I was like, "Okay." So I did it. I built a 40 minor carry optics gun, and then like 2 weeks later, the rule change happened, and I was like, "Okay, I'm just gonna go back to my old gun now." So yeah, can we phase out equipment? Sort of. We had a rule on the books that got changed, and that's one of the bylaw change and one of the rule changes that I do agree with. We had a rule that you couldn't invalidate or you couldn't obsolete anybody's current gear. So if you had equipment and gear that fit a current division, then USPSA couldn't go ahead and say you cannot use this anymore due to X, Y, and Z. So we went limited to 140. Like if you wanted to go to standard, we couldn't say it has to fit the box, big mag wells, what have you. That's not in the rules anymore. So we can say, hey, we're not going to renew LO in May, and we're going to open up CO to single action and whatever you want on it. That is something that we could do.
Do you think they would ever do a weight reduction?
It's possible.
Reason I say that,
minor gun, what does it matter? Like,
well,
there's kind of a natural weight where it makes sense.
It's crazy what we allow now, but going into the topic of the division merger, I love island barrel, whatever you want to call them, guns. Love them, love them, love them. I don't think that really belongs in carry optics. I would like to see the weight limit reduced, and then bushing barrels become a little bit more popular with a single action trigger.
So I mean, you just invalidated a manufacturer from, I think, Georgia that makes a clone of a Tupperware gun that has a small hybrid barrel.
Screw them.
I
don't care about Jordan.
So like it's just one of those things where, hey, it's unintended consequences.
Is that manufacturing? I don't know who you're talking about. The reference is going over my head. Are they manufacturing for competition, or are they manufacturing for general public?
Both.
Okay. Question about the weight for Ben. The Beretta. What does your Beretta weigh now?
1 million pounds.
Pretty much.
He shoots IDPA one.
My CO gun, I run the lightweight slide, and so slide with an empty mag. I think I was 48 ounces.
Okay, so I know with like a Shadow 2, you can do excessive milling on the slide to get it down, but like there's not much you can mill on a Beretta, is there? Like I think
it's got the big thick Brigadier slide, and so they take out on the inside of the slide. With the normal CO slide, I think it's another 3 ounces, so it's over 50.
Yeah, it's
fantastic.
Really and I went back to a plastic gun. So
to make a point, when I got my DWX, I made that gun heavier than my open gun just to make a point. Like it was stupid heavy.
Yeah, but you could never get it to run.
That was corn cob. I forgot Luigi was there for that. Okay, quick story. Okay, so WPSO, World Pistol Shootout. Okay, I'm squatted with Luigi, and it's cold. Like it's Texas cold. Everybody's got grease on their gun and whatnot. So only 3 guns ran in our squad. Luigi's, Gorka's, and who else? Who was it? Everybody else was having malfunctions on the first stage, right? I mean, it was cold. And so I get up there, I do the first half of the stage, and I'm like, my gun's running. This is going to be great. And I throw in a reload, and then the corn cob started hitting, and the gun went bolt action. I think I did a standing reload too. But
yeah, I tried to delete that from my memory.
But it was just funny because I was like so excited, like, oh shit, my stuff's running when everybody else was dying.
I mean, what? It's your fault that we all got on that little Mobius squad that you have on your shirt. So yeah, that blue stuff doesn't do well in the freezer.
I know we're coming close to an hour. I don't know how long you run these things, David. Luigi, I'm going to tell you what's interesting to me about you as a candidate is you have some business acumen. You're a little bit of a shit stir. Like I know you a little bit personally and have been around you at matches, right? I mean, you're not just a whatever, go along kind of a guy. Like you're looking at why, and you might even, dig and make an issue out of something because you want to understand. And I think those are two things that are needed, frankly. The other guys, some of the other guys that are running, I agree with, or I don't agree with. I don't think being a longtime shooter automatically qualifies you. You said it earlier that this is a business. And I think you're absolutely right. We need to bring business acumen to the sport. I don't care if it's a not-for-profit. You can't remain a viable concern if you don't treat it like a business. And so that's what is interesting about you, for me personally. You're a shooter, obviously, and you understand the work.
He's got the longest hair of the presidential candidates.
Yeah. Is it like Samson, right? Is that where my power is?
So what I need you to do, Luigi, is to film videos for Instagram and get like a desk fan in front of the thing, so you just let the hair loose.
Oh no!
It, like, be backlit, so it's like flowing in the background as you say things about
what
USPSA.
Is it? The Ryobi air cannon.
Have it locked up.
We'll get that Ryobi air cannon and just sit it right there on the desk.
That's right.
Yeah,
like Herman Lee from Dragon Force. You could claim that you're related to him, and that could be your
Dude, I think I listened to one of the podcasts that you were on. You were talking about like I wanted to play guitar because I just wanted to get good at it, and then you talked about Herman Lee, and you just mentioned him again, so it reminded me. One of my favorite clips ever was seeing this weird Asian guy with long hair, like say, "Hey, have you ever heard of motorcycle crash?" And he just makes like these motorcycle crash noises on the guitar, and it's like that is wickedly awesome. But yeah, so that's a side note. Ben, coming back to what you said, thanks for the support and mentioning those things. But yeah, business side of things, I'm not the best business guy. I've had some businesses. I've run them. I've done pretty much everything on that side of the corporate wise. And then, yeah, you're right. You don't have to be a shooter to run USPSA, but you do have to be a shooter to be a match director for nationals. Because then if you aren't a shooter, you fall into these things, or if you haven't been a long time shooter, you fall into these things where you might make a decision or you might make a call that somebody 5 years ago, 10 years ago tried doing it at nationals and it completely backfired. So having the experience there, I think, is very important.
I don't think you would get elected if you're not a shooter. I just think that some of the other skills that haven't been there should be.
Real quick, well, I guess because I do like to keep these closer to an hour, we'll just go around. And Eric, if you've got any parting shots for Luigi, any things for him to address, kind of from a
I know better.
if you were president for a day kind of things. And I guess that would be kind of my one big question while Eric thinks of his amazing question is what would your realistic goal be were you to be able to sit in the seat as president, and what would a good stretch goal be? Like, the president doesn't have all this kind of power. It would take me wielding a lot of influence, but this is something I'd love to see get done, but is outside the scope of president. And a more realistic goal is, as president, I could do this right now, and immediately there'd be a tangible benefit.
Also, are you guys seeing the comments again?
Yeah. It's 10 o'clock my time right now. They're hungry.
Someone should check on the dog.
Go vote for Luigi. He won't feed his dogs.
Hey, are you okay? You see, the one on my bed is fine. It's just the other guy. He's hungry.
That's the favorite one that gets fed. The other one is just like, hey, I know you're in there. I can hear you.
If I had any of the other ones in here, they'd just be in the camera and occupying.
Is that why you ride around in a Sprinter van? As the back is just filled with kennels?
That is the reason why I have a Sprinter van. Yeah.
But
dude,
back to the original question.
I have 600 pounds worth of dogs right now.
What would your realistic goal be, and what would your stretch goal be if you were president? Go.
The finances need to be checked, and the finances need to be put in check and up to date. There also needs to be transparency on that. I mean, if you look at at what we have on the website right now, I mean, we don't have our Form 990 up. We don't have our audit up, even though our financial review from last year, even though it was discussed at the last meeting, and it was, hey, everything is kosher. So if it was discussed and talked about, why isn't it made available to the membership? Long term is it deals off of the finances as well. Make sure that we have a business, a company, a organization that is going to be viable for 10, 15, 20 years.
And what is your single biggest concern? Don't say finances again, because I mean that's like foundational. Like, we have to get that in order. Let's assume we get that in order.
Okay.
What keeps you up at night about the organization going into perpetuity beyond finance?
So I've shot all over the world, not just the country. And honestly, I haven't felt proud of one of our national matches since Iron Sights in Utah. Straight up.
What year was that? What year was that?
That'd have been like 15 or 16, right?
No. It was after a 9 days of nationals. It was probably
okay.
19. That was an event. It was the one where the awards was at the golf course down the street.
Yeah, 2019 Open Nets was at that golf course. That was beautiful there.
Yeah,
like
because
that was amazing.
that was a back-to-back match. So I shot the Iron Sight one, or no, I shot Carry Optics there.
2019 was Open and then CO. Yep, Open and then CO.
So that I look, like Ben said, we have these guys that have done it for so long, that have put all these kinds of matches on. And who are we to say what's better and what's not, or how to do better, what not to do better? But as a shooter, going to different countries' national events, going to regional matches, so level 4 IPSC matches, and seeing what is plausible and what's doable. Our national, we have the best shooting country and the best shooting organization on the planet. We should have a national event that represents that. And Ben, you said nationals it was, other than who was there, it felt like a 3-day local match. Eric, you said that other than who was there, that you need to have an event that draws international players as well.
Yeah, it wasn't, there was no wow factor at all, and the vendor area was really lacking. Like I really felt like we need more vendors. And what do we need to do to make it appealing for more vendors to come to that event? You know what I mean? I think a lot goes hand in hand in that.
Look, Ben is here. We can talk about he knows some of what goes on that side. How many employees does Beretta bring to any major event that they sponsor, where they're going to have a demo place or a display?
6, 8.
Okay. If you're going to have 6, 8 employees that you're going to bring out on top of all the sponsored shooters for a 3 or 4 day event, is it worth it for them to spend that much coin to go do? I mean, look at 6 Hour. They did not partake from SHOT Show, and they just did the range day instead, because they realized they get more out of doing this than spending all of that.
For clarity, they don't even participate in the NRA SHOT Show. They book a private range in the area and do theirs, the day before the proper range day, and on the day of the true range day, they open it up to anybody who's in the public to come.
A number that I've heard, it's they saved a tune of $14 or $15 million by not partaking. Sure. It's into double-digit millions.
And it's like the Red Bull marketing model. Like Red Bull puts on these spectacles around the world that get people to get their phones out and post on social media, where there's a Red Bull logo in every single direction you look. of something really cool. And so SIG doing that, inviting thousands of people who happen to be in the Las Vegas area to come and shoot their guns and their ammo, you're getting the people who are at the venue, but the second order effect of them posting on social media. And I mean, assuming they each get 100 exposures on each piece of content and you get half the people there to go, I mean, that's a pretty big ripple before you get anything that potentially goes viral. Like the chance of something going viral becomes a lot higher if a lot of people are posting about it. And I mean, USPSA's social media game is garbage, like straight up and down. And we don't do anything like that. I think honestly, the bill drill thing that they did this year has that kind of spectacle potential when you've got two guys who are laying down sub 1-4 bill drills. That's freakish. Like that's unbelievable.
So that brings me to my question. And first of all, speaking of Red Bull, go Verstappen. And number two,
yeah, he locked up 8 points today, didn't he?
Dude. And number two, so Shooting USA was there. They did the bill drill thing, and Scouting's got some ideas for more publicity and more exposure in the world outside of our little tiny, autistic niche. What do you think about what he's doing, and how? I'm going to assume you want to support it. How do you think USPSA can do a great job of supporting what Shooting USA is trying to do?
I don't know what the specifics were around the event, so I wouldn't be able to say anything about it. I mean, was it cool? Yeah. I mean, did I see videos about it? Yeah. Did Froelich and his company do really cool videos? I mean, yeah, dude, it was a spectacle, even me not being there. But you're asking about the support and the sponsorship and the paperwork. I mean, I don't know anything about it, so I don't know how we could support the companies, the sponsors, the vendors, and all that.
Do you think that the goal of exposing USPSA to a much broader audience, do you think that's a goal worth pursuing?
Oh, USPSA needs to be a household name. It does. It's the best.
It's sad. It's sad, like how little USPSA is known.
Well, I used to like the media piece is obviously really important to me, but like I stopped pushing USPSA on it when I realized how bad their infrastructure is. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, okay, let's assume that we get the media correct and we open the floodgates and get a bazillion new shooters to come in and shoot matches. We're not adding new clubs. We're not supporting the clubs that are there. The second coordinators barely know what they're supposed to be doing. We don't have any videos on the internet to get people who are starting to shoot their matches, and like the equipment rules and all that kind of stuff. Like there's a key piece to training up, like leveraging technology and the internet to get like, this is the brand of USPSA. If you say you want to be a USPSA club, do all these things. We'll show you how. None of that like is really there.
You and Charlie talked about that on your podcast, and I think there's some people that would contribute to making that happen. I really do.
So I want to add to that, and I don't know if it was your podcast, but yeah, Charlie Perez was talking to somebody. I thought it was Paracast. Were you on Paracast recently, David?
Yeah, not long ago, but I mean, I wasn't talking about that.
I can't remember what it was, but anyway, they were talking about what you had just said. What I think needs to happen is I don't want USPSA to put a how-to binder together. I want some of these successful section coordinators, match directors to put together stuff that they know works. I mean, every club's different, and USPSA be a repository for that, for the good information. Like I feel like they're more connected with what these L1s need than, the org sending out stickers and whatnot.
Well, that's what we're speaking to, is like somebody who sits in like a Jake position or potentially a Troy position. Like, open up the book. Which clubs have the most activity? Okay, These clubs have the most activity. Hey guys, I'm going to come out there for a weekend.
That two of the clubs that have the most activity seceded from their sections and are standalone now.
Because they want the national slots, right?
There was a lot of other issues, but yes.
Basically, I mean, there always is, and that seems to happen in a lot of sports.
So the moral of what I'm saying is there's a lot of people complaining that USPSA is not providing the information. Like, I don't want that information to come from USPSA. I would prefer that they just be a repository for actual good information that, you know, people
But
on the ground.
even still,
put
that
together.
has to be curated, because if you just flood a bunch of
Yes.
information, how do you know if it's any good? And that's where the USPSA comes in and is able to like curate it. And
Yes.
I mean, you could get a bunch of like introduce a Reddit system with upvotes and downvotes or something and let it be crowdsourced, whatever it is. Regardless, there needs to be the infrastructure in place where if I'm a shooter, I understand how to get started. Or if I'm starting a club, I understand how I can make my club run better and avoid, like, really what we need is to stem off match director burnout. Because I mean, my club is on the ropes because, you know, I ran it for so long. Michael ran it for so long. Like, nobody wants to step up and be match director because you know, you have to wade through chest high nonsense.
Well, the issue with your specific club is you guys don't have a standalone USPSA club.
Yeah, you're right. That's part of it.
You guys piggyback off of an IDPS, a long-standing IDPA club that is very entrenched in their ways.
Yep.
And the range that you guys are at, it's just the partnership there is just too ingrained.
No, yeah, we are definitely the stepchild at that club, and I mean, it certainly chafes working with the IDPA guys. Like, they can be a great asset when we need, like, they've got an endless supply of people who don't work anymore who can show up and volunteer at the drop of a hat. USPSA has more people of working age that can't do that, and like, so they've got a really strong volunteer core that we don't.
Why can't we merge those? You know, people. Why can't we bring older guys into USPSA? Why can't we bring the younger guys over into IDPA? So it's not just a USPSA issue standalone. We need to work together with all of the different organizations.
Friends don't let friends shoot IDPA, Luigi.
Well, what if you could go shoot your open gun in IDPA?
You almost can.
I mean, yeah. Well, now you can. I mean, technically, sort of. Except
it just has to fit the box, and then you can. Like, that's
you can't have. You have to have a slide ride optic. So hey, your non-working Dan Weston can go play.
I need to go get my CZ out of the trash can over there. No, honestly, I want to.
For people who don't follow Range Panda on Instagram, he does this at least once or twice a year, where he takes a multi-$1,000 carry optics gun and casually throws it in the trash can. Like, that's at least 2 posts a year from Eric, at least.
What's funny is people asked me if I was cringing because it caught the trash can and kind of like spun in the trash can, you know, jarred. People were asking me if I cringed, and I said no. That was honestly like the 4th take because I was trying to get some violence out of the trash can for the video. Now, there was a packing blanket in the bottom of the trash can, okay?
Yeah, but I've seen you shoot. I wouldn't be surprised if you missed the trash can completely.
Did not. I was worried about that, but we did not. Because I mean, you're like holding the camera, and you're, you know, I was hoping the word, because I went Kobe. I was hoping it was going to be more, you know, predominant in the video, but it wasn't.
So, do you have a question for Luigi, and we can wrap this thing up, Mr. Panda?
I do. One of the constant complaints that we've always had is transparency. How do you think you can provide us more transparency if you were president?
Do not say live streaming those stupid board meetings.
Look, you can say live stream the board meetings, but that's not going to help anything. All live streaming a board meeting is going to do, it's going to cause nothing to get discussed in a board meeting. Everything going to get discussed. And deals are going to be done in back alley, backroom things, and you're just going to have a 30-minute just above
box
board.
check.
Here, this is what we're doing, and you're good to go. That's all that's going to happen if you live stream those meetings. What we can do is we've done it before. I don't think it will happen with the current guys that are there. Is waive confidentiality. That's one thing.
That just seems shady to me.
There was some issues with how that was presented and discussed, and not everyone was on the same page when that would happen.
Like area directors are elected officials. We should know what their stance is on certain things. You know what I mean?
That is an issue with the minutes. That's the so
The
my
minutes
big
under
thing.
Yi Min got significantly better. Like it was easier to see what actually happened in the meetings. Mostly, they still weren't all the way there where I would expect them or want them to be, but you could at least kind of get the tops of the waves approach to what went on in the meeting. Whereas like prior to Yi Min, I mean, it was basically just the agenda, and it
So
was like the agenda with the timestamps put on it.
we have minutes going back to, let me pull it up here, but in 1980, 1984, like if you can go through all the meeting minutes from every board meeting back to 1984, and they're on our website. They were done when people knew how to do corporate secretary work. Right now, we just appoint a corporate secretary and it's ratified by the board. It's been lacking. So the meeting minutes are a legal document for the corporation. And there was an instance this year, at the beginning of the year, where they discussed something in a board meeting and nothing was written down about it. And in another board meeting, it was referred back to, but there's no proof of it. And you had a director asking questions about it. That's not kosher. That's not kosher at all. So is it a transparency thing? Yes. But is it a fiduciary responsibility to cover our behinds? So I know you said that people listen with youngins, but we need to cover our, you know what's, and if that's with better minutes, that's one thing. But as Panda said, we don't know what our area directors are doing or how they decide or where their stance is. Our bylaws state that our agenda needs to be up 10 days before the meeting. And the reason for that is so you can discuss things with your area director. Say, hey, I have an issue on this. I have an issue on that. Yes, I like LO. No, I don't like LO. Yes, I want production to go to 15 rounds. No, I don't want production to go to 15 rounds. What have you? Have you seen what our agenda looks like? And that is the job of the president. That is one of the responsibilities that per our bylaws that the president's in charge of. So yes, I can write, we're going to discuss LO, but what are we going to discuss? That's an issue that you as a member can't call your representative and say, yes, I feel about this in this manner, when you don't know what exactly is going to get discussed.
So I'll just put this comment on the screen. I don't disagree. Would love to listen to this with 85% less dog noise.
Luigi, I hope you get up and leave this room and your couch cushions are just thrashed across the living room.
Like stuffing everywhere.
Yeah, I have right now over 600 pounds of dogs in this house right now. So yeah, I'm worried about what's outside that door.
All right, so I appreciate everyone coming on. We've run long. We'll go around and let everyone say their shout outs and kind of outros. We'll start with Ben. Ben, if people want to get a hold of you or you want to shout out stuff, feel free.
Yeah, I'm shadow banned, I'm sure. Ben_shoots_ on Instagram is basically my only social. I put some fun stuff on there once in a while. Peace, I'm out.
If you want to see Ben dry fire, that's the number one place to go see Ben dry fire. Like someone got it in Ben's head that people want to see that stuff, and so that's what he posts mostly.
You need to wear tighter shirts for that, Ben.
Heck
you
yeah.
say that every single match that I go to, somebody thanks me for posting dry fire.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. I was like, I gotta put the Ron Burgundy "I don't believe you" meme up. This is where I was going.
The new one, it's, are you sure?
Yeah, that guy, the Indian guy. That's another good meme we could put up. All right, Mr. Panda, any shout outs you'd like to make?
Well, quick sidebar. Ben talking about people thinking him about dry fire. I apparently get toaster questions now. Like it was crazy at nationals how many people came up to me and had like, is today a 1 toaster kind of day or a 2 toaster kind of day? But no, I'm Range Panda, rangepanda.com. My socials, Range Panda 2A. If you're asking about foam, I'm trying, but it's very difficult working designs out with people. But that's kind of like been one of the things I'm known for right now as far as products is custom case foam. So give me some time, people.
And other than that, you can see pictures of Eric holding various appliances near pools of water and throwing guns in the trash can.
Area 2, I tried talking my Airbnb roomies into helping me bring the dryer into the tub. Because I think we did a toaster one day and then we did a vacuum cleaner. And I'm like, what else could we do? But they wouldn't help me carry the dryer. I thought that would have been pretty good.
All right, Luigi, that leaves you. How can people get a hold of you? How can they vote for you if that's what they want to do? Lay it on us.
Well, email
God
if
damn
you
that
have
dog.
personalized questions. It's dvc.luigi@gmail. Instagram if you want to see. I also post some fun stuff too that people have seen. I also post just shooting videos and such.
Luigi is basically a living meme. Like he's been featured in several "Go Fast Don't Suck" memes.
Panda's done a few. I get around, but yeah, that's Little Bunny Fufu. And I will never give that handle up just because it's awesome.
So say somebody wanted to send you a rawhide bone. How could they get that to you?
Don't worry. They all had bully sticks and chewed through them within the span of the half an hour that we were. That's why they were quiet. Then they got hungry.
Let's start a thing. Let's start a thing. Let people, random people, you see him at a match. Bring him some doggy treats to give to his dogs, please. Please make this a year-long thing.
Yeah, let's at least see the good dog who's not making all the noise.
Give us your address so we can Amazon drop ship dog toys to you every day.
That's a big boy right there. Look at that guy.
That's the good boy.
This is my buddy. Yeah. He's my lightest one, and he weighs 130 something pounds.
Jesus.
So your dogs all weigh as much as you do.
No, I'm a fat person. I caught myself.
Well done, lads. Well, I appreciate everybody who tuned in and joined the chat. If you're listening to this on the audio stream, I apologize for Luigi's dog noise. Taco shirt makes sense. And if you want to catch these live, they're streamed on my Arrogant Marksman YouTube channel. So appreciate everybody, and we'll catch you on the next one.